To a third-generation American farmer, this dirt is not just property. It is the family Bible, written in sweat, calluses, and prayer. Every acre tells the story of an ancestor who broke their back to keep this legacy alive. But in Chambers County, Texas, that entire legacy can vanish before the sun comes up. Just ask John Carter. One quiet October night, a 58-head army of feral hogs tore through his farm. In less than 8 hours, 60% of his corn and rice was completely wiped out. That is $38,000 gone. It is not just money, it is his grandson's college fund, and a whole year of hard, honest work down the drain. For decades, we relied on loud propane cannons to scare them off. But science now proves these beasts are too smart. In fact, it takes them less than 3 encounters to realize those loud blasts are empty threats. They do not just ignore our traps, they are outsmarting us at every turn. But the battle is not over. Farmers have finally cracked the code to a fatal flaw in the wild hog's survival instinct. A brilliant trick that changes the game forever. If you want to discover how American farmers are fighting back and winning, hit that subscribe button right now to join our community. To beat an enemy this smart, you cannot just rely on brute force or bigger guns. You have to get inside their heads and find where they are vulnerable. Feral hogs are built like tanks, with thick hides, heavy muscle, and a stubborn attitude. But nature left them with one massive blind spot. Their eyes simply cannot keep up with their brains. Back in 2022, wildlife biologists confirmed something that changed how we look at these beasts. A wild hog's long-range vision is downright terrible, especially when the sun goes down and they do most of their damage. Once an object is more than 20 or 30 yards away, their world dissolves into a blurry, shifting mess of shadows. They cannot make out details, and they certainly cannot see fine lines. Up in Oklahoma, a veteran rancher named Pete Vance decided to put this science to the test. Pete did not have the money to build massive, expensive concrete walls across hundreds of acres. Instead, he went to the local hardware store, bought rolls of cheap, heavy-duty black plastic tarp, and got to work. He spent a weekend zip-tying these dark, non-reflective tarps to the bottom 3 feet of his standard wire fences. To a human, it just looked like a basic DIY project. But to a feral hog, that simple black barrier changed everything. When a massive 400-pound boar leads his sounder out of the woods at midnight, he relies on his eyes to scout the path ahead. When he approached Pete's field, he did not see a fence he could easily root under or charge through. He saw a solid, pitch-black void. Because the tarp did not reflect any moonlight, it created an unreadable optical barrier. The hog could not see what was on the other side. And more importantly, he could not see a clear way in. In animal psychology, there is a constant battle between risk and reward. Normally, the smell of sweet corn or peanuts is enough to override a hog's fear, making them brave enough to tear down wire fences. But when you make the obstacle visually empty, you trigger their deepest survival instinct: extreme caution. The fear of an unseen trap lurking behind that black void suddenly outweighs their hunger. They hesitate, they pace back and forth, and eventually, the alpha turns the whole family herd around and walks away. Pete protected his entire crop without firing a single shot, using nothing but a roll of tarp and basic biology. By understanding how these animals see the world, we can outsmart them without spending a fortune. It is about working with nature, not just fighting against it. Where are you watching this video from? Please tell us your country or city in the comments, and let's explore together. If poor eyesight is the wild hog's greatest weakness, then its sense of smell is undoubtedly its superpower. To put it in perspective, a feral hog's snout is a highly sophisticated biological radar system. It is so incredibly sensitive that they can easily detect the faint scent of a tiny root, a bulb, or a buried insect larva hiding more than 3 feet beneath the hard-packed earth. They can smell a single dropped acorn from miles away. But in this endless chess match on the farm, our folks have figured out how to turn this ultimate strength into their worst vulnerability. Instead of fighting that powerful nose, farmers are now using it to guide the enemy exactly where they want them to go. Down in the southern timberlands, growers have started laying down what they call scent corridors. They take heavy burlap sacks filled with highly aromatic, sweet, fermented corn mash and scatter it along old logging trails deep in the woods, nearly 2 miles away from their actual cash crops. To a hungry sounder of hogs, that pungent, sweet aroma is absolutely irresistible. They catch the scent on the night breeze and follow it like a compass, completely bypassing the valuable grain fields. They spend their night happily feasting on the decoy piles in the woods, leaving the farmers' hard-earned crops untouched. But we do not just stop at distraction. We are also actively masking the target. That is where a brilliant scent repellent called Boar comes into play. Think of it as an invisible cloak for your crops. When sprayed along the perimeter of a field, this organic formula does not just smell bad to the hogs, it actually chemically neutralizes and masks the natural, mouth-watering sweet smells of ripening corn and grain. It is a total game changer. Without that sweet dinner bell ringing in the wind, the hogs simply drift right past the fields. Hard data shows that this simple, invisible barrier reduces crop damage by a staggering 60 to 80%. And this genius approach of using nature to fight nature is catching on all over the world. Take a trip with me across the globe to the rugged farming villages of Telangana, India. The local farmers there were losing almost half their crops to these wild beasts every single season. But they did not buy expensive high-tech gear. Instead, they designed a brilliant, living biobarrier. They started planting dense, tightly packed rows of castor oil plants all along the outer edges of their cornfields. The castor plant is a master of self-defense. Its large, broad green leaves release a thick, heavy, bitter odor that completely smothers and hides the sweet aroma of the ripening corn behind it. On top of that, the plant itself is naturally toxic and incredibly unpleasant to chew, meaning the hogs will not even try to bite through it. To the hogs, the entire field smells and tastes like a toxic wasteland. The results of this simple green wall were nothing short of a miracle. By wrapping their fields in this natural armor, local farmers saw their corn yields skyrocket from a miserable 36% all the way up to a 95% success rate. Whether it is fermented bait trails in the piney woods of America or leafy green barriers in the fields of India, the lesson is clear. You do not need to fight a hog's super senses. You just have to learn how to speak their language, lead their noses, and let nature do the heavy lifting for you. But as we head deeper into this fight, the battle lines are shifting. We are moving from the muddy ground right up into the open sky. Over the last couple of years, farmers and ranchers have taken this war to a whole new level, quite literally. If you take a walk out into the Texas brush country after midnight, you might hear a faint, high-pitched buzz cutting through the dark. That is the sound of thermal imaging drones, the new silent guardians of the American Heartland. To understand why this works so well, you have to realize how a wild hog thinks. These creatures have a phenomenal memory when it comes to danger on the ground. They know what a metal cage trap smells like. They know the sound of a pickup truck idling in the distance, and they certainly know the baying of a blue lacy trail dog. But in their entire evolutionary history, they have never had to look up. They have zero natural predators in the sky, so they do not have a single instinct telling them to watch the clouds. When a drone hovers hundreds of feet above a thick briar patch, the hogs have absolutely no idea they are being watched. On the pilot's screen, the pitch-black brush comes alive in bright, glowing heat signatures. We can see every single hog, from the massive, heavy-shouldered sows down to the smallest striped piglets, as they move like ghosts through the cover. For the first time, we have stripped away their ability to hide. But we are not just watching them from above. We are also hitting them with things they cannot even hear. or at least things we cannot hear. Down on the fence lines, ranchers are installing a new generation of smart acoustic weapons. High-frequency ultrasonic emitters tuned to 35,000 Hz. Now, to you and me, this device is completely silent. You could stand right next to it and hear nothing but the crickets chirping in the grass. But to the ultra-sensitive ears of a wild hog, that 35,000 Hz frequency sounds like a jet engine roaring in their living room. It is an overwhelming, disorienting wall of sound that makes them incredibly uncomfortable the second they step onto the property. The real magic here, though, is not just the high frequency. In the past, if you set up a noisemaker, the hogs would eventually get used to it. They would realize it is just a machine and walk right past. But these new smart systems are backed by artificial intelligence. Instead of playing the same boring hum, the AI randomly shifts the frequency and changes up the broadcast intervals anywhere from 2 to 15 minutes. 1 minute it is silent, the next it is a pulsing vibration, and the next it is something else entirely. They can never get comfortable because the sound is never the same twice. Over in the experimental village of Nigde, researchers put this exact AI system to the test. They went a step further by using the ultrasonic speakers to blast high-frequency, synthesized sounds of aggressive hunting dogs. To the hogs, it sounded like an invisible pack of hounds was closing in from all directions, even though the human neighbors did not hear a single peep. The results were immediate. The moment the sound activated, the hogs panicked, tucked their tails, and scrambled back into the wilderness. Damage to the local test plots dropped to near zero, proving that sometimes the best way to defend your land is with silent, invisible high-tech shields that outsmart the enemy before they even take a bite. When the blistering summer heat rolls across the American South, the game changes entirely. Out on the sun-baked pastures of Texas and Oklahoma, the dirt cracks open, the creeks dry up, and temperatures routinely soar past 95 degrees Fahrenheit. For humans, it is a matter of turning up the air conditioning. But for feral hogs, this extreme heat triggers a massive biological crisis. You see, unlike most mammals, wild hogs do not have functional sweat glands. They cannot sweat to cool themselves down. When the sun is beating down on them, their only hope for survival is to find water to drink and mud to wallow in. During these brutal summer months, water is not just a preference. It is an absolute, non-negotiable necessity. And that is exactly where smart farmers have found another brilliant way to turn the tables. Instead of chasing these animals across thousands of acres of dense brush, land managers are letting the heat do the hard work. They start by identifying and temporarily fencing off the natural, scattered watering holes around the property. Once those random water sources are blocked, they set up a single, inviting corral trap equipped with a clean, automatic water trough right in the center. To a thirsty, panting sounder of hogs, this setup looks like a godsend. They follow their desperate need for moisture straight into the heart of the trap. With a smart cellular camera monitoring the site, the farmer can wait until the entire family is safely inside drinking, then drop the gate remotely with a single tap on a smartphone. It is clean, efficient, and lets us manage entire herds without firing a single, chaotic shot. Yet, as any seasoned cattleman or grower will tell you, trapping alone will never fully solve this crisis. If you want to secure the future of our farms for the next generation, we have to look at the bigger picture. We have to talk about reproduction. That is where a fascinating scientific breakthrough called Gonacon enters the story. Gonacon is a specialized vaccine designed to act as a humane, long-term fertility lock. Now, some folks might wonder why we do not just eradicate every single hog we see. The truth is, wild hogs have highly complex social structures. If you simply run gun-toting hunts and scatter a herd, you end up breaking them into smaller, panicked groups. These fragmented splinter groups scatter across neighboring counties, breeding even faster and spreading the destruction further than before. By using Gonacon, wildlife biologists can take a much smarter, more humane path. When we capture and vaccinate the dominant mature sows, the vaccine safely disrupts their reproductive hormones without harming their health or altering their natural behavior. These alpha females return to their herds, maintaining their social hierarchy and keeping the group stable and contained. They still lead their sounders, but they simply stop reproducing. This is incredibly important when you look at the raw math of hog population growth. A single healthy wild sow can easily produce 2 litters of 6 to 10 piglets every single year. She can start breeding when she is just 6 months old. Without some form of biological intervention, a local hog population will explode by a staggering 150% annually. Trying to hunt our way out of that kind of exponential math is like trying to shovel snow in a blizzard. Gonacon gives us a way to press the pause button on this explosive cycle. It allows us to stabilize the land, protect our crops, and manage these wild populations humanely. It is a perfect example of how modern science is helping us preserve our agricultural heritage, showing that sometimes the most powerful tool a farmer has is not a weapon, but a smart, forward-thinking strategy that works hand in hand with the laws of nature. At the end of the day, the biggest lesson we have learned is simple. We cannot fight this battle alone. A single farm winning does not mean a thing if your neighbor is still getting wiped out. True victory comes when we stand together, sharing our data, coordinating our traps, and watching each other's backs. Protecting this land is not just about safeguarding our wallets. It is about protecting our way of life and keeping our family legacy safe for the little ones who will inherit these fields. If you believe in keeping our agricultural heritage alive, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below to share your own stories of protecting your land. Thank you for walking this road with us, and we will see you in the next video.